This session is a follow-up to the one we looked at in quality from a solution point of view. Now this one is looking at the quality from a process point of view. Now, of course, this is absolutely vital as well. From a process point of view, what we're really looking at are a couple of main areas. The first one is about the planning. Right? Remember, planning is probably the most informative and one of the most useful things to do within projects, because planning gives us an awful lot of information about scope, who's doing what, when, how, produces plans, help people look at a roadmap, gets people involved in it. This is quite important too. You know, not just planning, looking at the layout, but planning to understand how the solution is going to build, how we're going to manage the project as well. So planning incorporates an awful lot of stuff, right? A lot of information, very important information. So we look at the process from a planning, but also from an information point of view too, right? Information, because this ensures two things. The planning to understand how we're going to deliver the right solution, to help planning for the solution, right? And of course, the information from a point of view of making decisions in the project, right? So this is about to help making a decision from a business perspective. Information to making a decision, an informed decision based on the information that they have. Now, that doesn't mean to say the information has to be a lot of documents, right? It's no matter how it's given. It could be like a walk around through the project room, look at the team board or whatever information system you have about where the project's progressing, get involved in the workshops at the right level for the right people. So whether it's just the senior user or the people representing the users at this point, or the one that's representing the business overall from a funding and ultimate decision point of view, the owner of the project, whatever title you've used. So that means understanding what it is and looking through the project at any point of view, right? So the planning helps two things. It helps to make a decision on how we're going to run the project, how we're going to build the solution, and making sure that the plan we have in place, this delivery plan, is a realistic delivery plan, and ensure that we do not try and cram more than we actually logically and realistically cannot do in a certain time frame. And this is why doing it collaboratively is very important, and the business understand that, as well as the people who are supplying the solution for you. Right? So this is my plan, my delivery plan. Right? The first thing that we are looking, delivery plan, project plan. I mean, realistically, it's more like a delivery plan, because the project's the whole life cycle. Here we're just looking at building the solution and then handing it over, and deploying it as we go along, then handing it over. So we need to have a realistic plan. It needs to be realistic, right? In the sense of in the sense of what you're able to deliver at any one point in time. So this delivery plan needs to be realistic, in that it needs to ensure that we can deliver the solution properly, fit for purpose solution. It's going to function the way it's supposed to function, and it's going to do what the business needed to do, realize the benefits. Right? So it has to do that, and therefore, from that business perspective, detailed acceptance criteria to make sure we test properly and make sure it does what it is supposed to do. And we deliver the right requirements. Certainly, at minimum, the requirements we know that we must deliver. Hopefully all the ones that we ought to be delivering, right? And maybe even some of the ones, maybe even all the ones we've got left over that we've allocated as possible contingency for the project, if that's what we're doing here, if we have that amount, right? So it's got to work that way. This is very important. Remember, these are one of the 6 elements of a project. Is the quality, is one of the key elements, right? But it has to work, and it has to deliver the beneficial change, okay? And that means getting the right requirements in. So however we've orchestrated the delivery plan, it needs to be able to do that. But at the same time, there are a few things going on. Firstly, there are decisions being made, and this is really the prime focus of these points here. All these stage, right, stroke increment points in the project are about making a go, no-go decision, right, from a business perspective. So this is linked to that, right? So these points here are primarily around when the business needs to make decisions, right? So we need to make sure that how we handle the project and chunk it up, right, allows them to make that decision at any point in time based on the information about how the project is progressing. And this is the quality of the process, to make sure that that happens correctly, that the information and whatever we're using to report on that through reviews, right, during iterative development, or as we go through time boxes, till we've got iterative development, then the next level through the time box, stroke work package, and then the information at the end of each increment. So we've got incremental levels, increment stage levels as well, right? So information needs to be passed on through reviews or retrospectives, if you like, whatever you want to call them. In the end, it just depends. Retrospectives. It's just really a different way of using the terminology. It's just how you want to use them. But we've got reviews and retrospectives at the end of time boxes and work packages, at the end of stages stroke increments, to see how the whole project's progressing. Remember, at the end of the day, the business needs to make a decision. And this is the key thing about the process. We've got to have a proper life cycle in place to make sure we chunk it up at the bigger levels at the beginning through requirement, design, develop, and deploy and close, deliver and close. There's testing in the process, so testing's got to happen, but that's from a solution perspective. But we need to make sure that the process allows time for that testing to take place, right? So we've got a realistic delivery plan, right, to enable to do that. However, also don't forget, when we're doing time boxes, we have time box plans. Time box plans developed by the team themselves who are doing the work. This is logical, but within them, they also need to be realistic from a point of view of the objective of the time box. Now, we've got enough contingency in there that we can actually build the requirements. We've got given the understanding how they are, the riskiness of it, looking at what we've estimated, the team I've got, and what the business expects. So time box plans are also important to ensure that we actually build the solution. So again, it's linked back to the solution again, right? And allow decisions to take place through iterative development, through reviews, to make sure that the solution is on the right track, right? So the key thing is here, during the first two phases, we understand at a high and at a detailed level how we're going to plan it, how we're going to deliver the solution from a point of view of building it, development approach, how we're going to manage the project, right? We need to understand how we're going to run the project at high level views, and that means reporting and getting the business involved. We're putting all that information and agreeing how it's going to happen for that point in time. Okay, so this is the process. And then as we go through the development, as much as the team are running it through their time boxes, adhering to the delivery plan that we've got in place and then making the adjustments as necessary, then we're keeping the business involved to make a decision as we go through. So they can make an informed decision at specific gate points here through reviews at any time. Remember, the business can actually decide about the project's ongoing future, desirability, viability, and achievability from their perspective anytime throughout the whole project. We're just giving them sort of formal bits to make a stop-down tools. Let's have a look and see how we're getting on, guys. Right. So process supports the quality of the final solution and supports the information that's been passed for the decision to be made by the business at any point in time as to whether they still want it. Like I said, desirability, viability, and achievability. So plan it, run the plan, stick to the plan as best as possible. However, all things need to give. As much as the solution needs to change, the plans may need to change. Just ensure that if we do that, we get the right authority to say we can do that and they sign that off. Right? So make sure that happens too. Right? But make sure the business understand at any point in time they're based on realistic information and realistic understanding how the project is moving forward. Because we don't want to deliver a solution that doesn't work. It's the wrong solution. We crash it through, because that's worse than wasting a lot of people's time and money. They're making a decision somewhere through that isn't going to work. Or what do we need to do to change it to ensure that it does work and we get something out of it at the end of it? Right. So planning, and as we run through the details, keep the business informed on how you want to do that and making sure they understand how it's going to be involved. So key process to fit with the solution, work together, fit for purpose.